We're here in Monte Carlo for the Rendez-Vous de Septembre for Invest TV. I'm Richard Banks. I'm joined now by David Sowrey, Managing Director at Acrisure. David, it's good to have you back with us.
You too, Richard. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. So we're here in Monte Carlo, lots of conversations about all aspects of the reinsurance sector. There really does seem to be a buzz around the broker sector this year. Is that something you recognise?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a broker's job to be proactive, and all good brokers are. But one thing that we see is that the broking world is continuously evolving. The services required of brokers expand every year. I look at our business in London, and we have a capital advisory business. We have a structured reinsurance business. We do an awful lot in the portfolio space with MGAs. So outside of what I would call the traditional reinsurance remit, in the old days, it was good old fashioned risk transfer and execution, but now there is so much more to do. And I think a broker, to be properly equipped, has to have all of those services, and that's why we invest in them and make sure that we have them. But the same applies for all of us. We're all competing, and we all need to make sure that we have the tools to do the job.
And how does your job change as the cycle turns?
Well, we obviously have to manage clients' expectations. So I was always told when I was a younger broker that managing the expectation of the client is first and foremost. So I think as you enter different phases of the cycle, you have to manage your client in advance. You have to give them clear direction on what you think the outcome is likely to be. And then you have to go and do the best that you can, armed with that and with them being fully informed. I think the best brokers do that. It's quite hard sometimes to deliver messages, particularly in a hardening market, if you're seeing drastic retention increases or stuff like that. But it's important to get that out, because the client deserves to know in advance, as early as possible, what the outcome is likely to be.
So you mentioned the hardening market. I don't think anyone's going to argue we're in a hardening market now. What are the prospects for the reinsurance market looking forward?
I think, everyone's talking about it, and no one wants to talk the market down, but it seems that we're entering a softening phase of the market. I mean, this presents challenges across the board. As a broker, we have to be much more focused on production. We have to look after the business that we have, but we also have to produce new business. We have to be creative in the ways that we do that. And I think for the cedants, it obviously presents potential opportunity for them. The reinsurers will be looking to be more competitive, perhaps. They'll be more selective in terms of their approach, potentially, but there are deals to be had. And I think we do have a lot of capital in the reinsurance market space. It needs to be deployed. So we need to make sure that when it is deployed, it's competitive.
And does that change the way that cedants buy their reinsurance and the reasons that they're buying reinsurance?
Yeah, I think in a softening market, I think cedants are perhaps a bit more opportunistic. I think they do go out looking for deals a bit more. The hard market, our message to clients in a hard market is focus on sustainability, focus on long-term relationships. That's the best way to secure value on your reinsurance pricing if you're in a long relationship, particularly if it's profitable for your market. In a softening market, as I said, I think there's more opportunity to shop around. It's not necessarily something I would advocate. I think it depends on the case, but there is more opportunity to shop around. There is more capital, and I think there are more deals to be had.
So you mentioned the role of managing MGA relationships. Tell us a little bit about that, because that's not something perhaps we would have talked about 5-10 years ago. Yeah,
well, MGAs, I mean, we do an awful lot of MGA business at Acrisure. We own MGAs and we represent MGAs. That the MGA world, I remember we were talking about this last year, but the MGA world has gone crazy in the last 5 years. I think people are drawn, or investors are drawn, by the potential returns, the multiples available, the ability to establish a business really quite easily without a balance sheet, and then take that on and create real value in it. So the space is becoming more occupied. I do think there is a flight to quality. I think the bigger MGAs, particularly those that have the ability to retain risk, and who have infrastructure and can demonstrate, some of the assets that insurance companies even have. I think they're the ones that really will benefit, and we see more and more of it. I think the ability to retain, though, is key, because getting alignment with your markets is key. And if you can do that, then you have a much better chance of success.
So David, one final question. Is there one topic that's being overlooked today that's going to be really important in the future?
Yeah, well, I think that's a very good question. I don't have a crystal ball, so it's hard to really identify what that could be. But one thing I would say is that I think we need to pay a lot more attention to climate change. I think we're seeing more and more extreme events. I was on holiday in Spain earlier this year, and we had some wildfires around us. It really brought it home to me just how severe climate change can be. And we're just seeing more and more of these events all the time. And I know that the reinsurance business is very well capitalized and has the capability to withstand these catastrophic events and systemic failure as well, while we're talking about that sort of loss. But I do think that just paying more attention to climate change, perhaps getting more involved and more invested in mitigation, could be a way forward for the business. And, you know, that's the sort of thing we should be doing. We have the technical skills and we understand catastrophe. So perhaps we could use it in another way.
David, it's always fascinating to talk to you. Thanks so much indeed for your time.
Thanks, Richard.
For Invest TV, I'm Richard Banks.